What if your ideas, your ideals, your convictions were not signs of enlightenment, but symptoms of a disease? What if the belief that you could change the world wasn't a virtue, but a kind of madness? In Fyodor Dostoevsky's Demons, also known as the possessed or the devils, we are thrown into a world where ideology is not a tool for liberation, but a virus that infects the soul. It spreads through passionate youth, disillusioned intellectuals, and power-hungry opportunists, until it leaves nothing but ruin in its wake. Today, we dive into Dostoevsky's chilling political novel, one that feels more prophetic with every passing year. This is not just a critique of 19th-century Russian radicalism, it's a warning about the destructive potential of ideas when they are untethered from morality, spirituality, and empathy. In this lecture, we'll explore how ideology, in Dostoevsky's view, can drive individuals, and even entire societies, into madness. When Dostoevsky wrote Demons, Russia was in the midst of ideological upheaval. Radical groups, many inspired by European revolutionary movements, were gaining momentum. Calls for violent revolution, the abolition of religion, and the remaking of society from the ground up were no longer fringe. They were mainstream among the educated youth. Dostoevsky, once a radical himself, had become deeply skeptical after his time in a Siberian prison camp. He no longer believed that political ideologies could save humanity. Instead, he saw them as dangerously reductionist attempts to reshape the human soul by force. Demons is his reaction, a literary exorcism. The town in the novel becomes a microcosm of Russia, infected by the arrival of revolutionaries who believe they are building a new world. But Dostoevsky doesn't portray them as noble freedom fighters. He shows them as fragmented, unstable, and ultimately hollow. Their ideologies do not give them strength. They make them brittle, paranoid, and prone to violence. For Dostoevsky, the real danger isn't any one political position. It's the belief that ideology alone can solve the mystery of human existence. At the heart of Demons is Nikolai Stavrogin, a character who might be described as the spiritual void around which all the ideological madness revolves. Stavrogin is enigmatic, charismatic, and deeply ambiguous. He fascinates everyone in the novel. Women love him, men admire or fear him, but he believes in nothing. He is the embodiment of nihilism, not because he champions it, but because he lives it. There is a terrifying emptiness in him, a detachment from meaning, from morality, from purpose. Stavrogin does not act from conviction, but from boredom. His cruelty is casual, his charisma is a mask, and his inaction is often more disturbing than the revolutionary's violence. He doesn't need to preach nihilism, he is nihilism incarnate. Through Stavrogin, Dostoevsky shows us what happens when a man loses all inner compass. Without God, without conscience, without connection to others, one doesn't become free. One becomes haunted, demonic. Another of Dostoevsky's chilling creations is Kirillov, the engineer who believes that by killing himself, he can prove that man is truly free. For Kirillov, God is an illusion created out of fear of death. If he can commit suicide without fear, he believes he will become a god, an ultimate affirmation of human will. It is philosophy pushed to its most terrifying extreme. Kirillov is not insane in the conventional sense. He is calm, methodical, and terrifyingly lucid. And that's what makes him so disturbing. Dostoevsky shows how ideology, even when rooted in logic, can twist the human mind until the only logical conclusion is annihilation. Kirillov's suicide is not an act of despair, but of ideological devotion. He sacrifices himself not for others, but for an abstract principle. In this, Dostoevsky paints a harrowing portrait of how the intellect, divorced from the soul, can lead to madness disguised as rationality. The title Demons is no accident. Dostoevsky uses it metaphorically and perhaps literally, to describe how these characters have become possessed by ideas. In the Christian tradition, possession is a loss of self, a surrender to malevolent forces. In Dostoevsky's novel, ideology is that malevolent force. It takes hold of individuals and drives them to lie, to betray, to murder. Characters like Pyotr Verkovensky exemplify this. He doesn't care about the oppressed or the future. He wants power. And ideology gives him a mask. He manipulates others, weaponizing their ideals while remaining hollow himself. In a climactic scene, his revolutionary cell descends into chaos, lies, and ultimately, bloodshed. The irony is devastating. Those who claim to be building paradise end up creating hell. Through this descent, Dostoevsky argues that when we replace spiritual truths with political dogma, we don't become enlightened, we become possessed. Dostoevsky did not write Demons merely to comment on his own time. He wrote it as a warning for the future, our future. He foresaw that a world enthralled by ideology, unmoored from compassion, faith, or humility, would not be a utopia, but a nightmare. And history has proven him right, time and again. From the totalitarian regimes of the 20th century to the ideological echo chambers of today's internet, the dangers he outlined are as alive now as they were then. But Dostoevsky does not leave us without hope. Amidst the madness, he suggests that the cure to ideological possession lies in the rediscovery of the human soul. It is not systems that save us. It is love, sacrifice, faith, and the humility to admit we do not know everything. In a world drunk on certainty, Dostoevsky urges us to embrace mystery, doubt, and above all, our shared humanity. So, can ideology drive people to madness? Dostoevsky answers with a resounding yes, but he doesn't stop there. He shows us how and why. He reminds us that ideas, no matter how noble they sound, can become demonic when they replace empathy with abstraction, when they demand blood instead of understanding. In Demons, we don't just see a critique of politics. We see a soul crying out against a world that has forgotten what it means to be human. Are we still in danger of ideological possession today? What happens when beliefs become more important than people? I believe it is apparent that in the last decade, ideology, and particularly political ideology, has become all-encompassing and very heated. We must guard against it imprisoning us like a demonic power, or else we risk repeating the ugliest moments in history. Thanks for listening.